Hello everybody, I am going to be sharing with you a mixed media card. I got this Altenew stamp set a couple weeks back. I knew that I had to have it. I love the feathers and I love the script. The stamp set is called Golden Feathers, and on the back you could see that there was some images where it shows you how you can layer certain ones on top of each other to get a really cool effect. I'm not going to be using any of the layering sets or the stamps today. I'm just going to be using these two here, and I am going to be doing an ombre effect. And I like to ink the stamps up first with some VersaMark. That way they stay juicy with the ink a little bit longer as I'm adding each layer of ink. And I am using the Altenew dye inks in the little cubes, and this one is Cool Summer Night, and I go from lightest to darkest. So the first one I used was Sea Glass, then Ocean Waves, Dusk, and that's what I'm using now. And then I will end up using Desert Night, the last one. And what I do in between is I like to use my finger to kind of blend them together, and I also use the ink on top of the ink that I used before, if that makes sense, so the lighter color, so that they blend really nicely together. And also with using VersaMark ink first, it helps with the blending, I have found anyways. So I am using my Tim Holtz stamp platform, which I love, and I'm going to see here that I didn't get a really nice crisp image on the right feather, and it actually was user error. I put the feather to the left a little bit too far down, and I realized that in just a second. I'm just stamping on some regular cardstock. I don't think I mentioned that before. So as you could see, I realized that I had the stamp on the left a little bit too far down, and it was just getting in that area, the raised area, and it wasn't letting the one on the right stamp correctly. Because I used VersaMark ink, I am able to add some clear embossing powder on top. This is just going to give a really nice shimmer, or not shimmer, like a glossy effect to the stamped images, and it just makes the colors a little bit more vibrant. And you can see here, I'm just going to melt that embossing powder, and it's just some Stampendous clear embossing powder, I believe. And I am now taking the Hello sentiment from the set and am stamping it with some VersaMark onto some vellum, and then I will use some superfine embossing powder. And you can see here, I love this embossing powder. It's probably one of my favorites. Just going to heat set that, and I do cut out the hello and also the feathers, and I do stamp out 3 feathers. I only showed 2, but I did do actually 1 more. So now I have a piece of Strathmore watercolor paper, and I'm going to attempt to make a sort of watercolor effect in the background so that the feathers can lay on top of it. And this is a Prima stencil. It is a doily 3 stencil, I believe. I will have all of the supplies listed down below. But this one is very well loved, and I do have a brand new one. So after I used this one, I just ended up throwing this one away because I realized that I wasn't getting as good of a image that I would like. But for this card, it was totally fine because the majority of it is going to get covered up anyways. So like I said, I am going to try to get a watercolor effect. So after the light paste dries, I don't think I said that, I use light paste with the stencil. After the light paste dries completely, I added a little bit of water to the upper half of the card where the doily is. And I'm taking some Lindy stamp spray in Tainted Love Teal. I like to take the nozzle off so I can splatter it on. I have a little bit more control this way, and I feel that for what I was going for, it was a little bit easier for me to get the watercolor effect that I was going for. So I added a little bit more water and kind of tilted it back and forth and side to side so that I can have that color flow wherever the water was on that watercolor paper, and it ended up working out perfectly fine. As you could see here, it looks gorgeous, especially on the bottom. I love how that looks. So you definitely don't have to have watercolors to get a watercolor effect. You can use your sprays if you have them. I actually splattered on some distress spray in Picket fence. I love the Picket fence to add white splatters to my projects. And now I'm going to start layering the card together. So I have a couple of the feathers that I had cut out. I did not get the dies. I don't normally buy the dies. I don't mind fussy cutting out my images, and that way I can buy more stamps or other supplies that I want instead of buying dies. It would probably be easier and faster if I did buy the dies, but I normally don't buy the dies, coordinating dies to the stamp sets. So I added one of the feathers on top of some foam, and it's just some craft foam. And then I added some upholstery thread, and then I added on top of that a Prima flower, which I believe sadly is discontinued. I don't believe you can get it anymore. And then I added the hello sentiment on top of the feathers right there. And I'm not worried about it curling up because it is vellum. It will curl up a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it. I did distress the edges of the watercolor paper with my Prima distress tool just to add a little bit more interest to the card. Then I adhered it to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. And that is going to complete the card for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this mixed media card and my take on a ombre stamping effect. Here is a couple more videos you might like. I hope you subscribe to my channel, hit that like button, and leave me a comment down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.